is Snehal Kulkarni and this is my husband Mandar Mule. We've always been enjoying gardening. Initially, we've done a lot of soil gardening, but wanted to try out hydroponic systems. It's been on mind for a long time until we met Manish this year, and were very excited that he was going to help us build the system. And so that's why here we are now. The system has been built, and we are going to walk you through the entire process in this journey.
So Snehal, can you talk about why did you choose this place?
Absolutely. So, choosing the right place is one of the most important factors for building your system. It will depend on the kind of plants that you want to grow, but most plants, as we know, they thrive on ample sunlight. So, this section of our backyard, it faces the east, and so this area here gets sunlight probably about 6 hours in a day, because the sun goes from east to southeast, and there is plenty of sunlight till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon all year long. So that's why this was one of the ideal spots for building. The other consideration was also in terms of water connection and electricity connections. Water you are going to need to fill up your containers and flush them through the system. Electricity you are going to need for your submersible pump, your timers, or your aero pump to aerate the water, and so on. So this was chosen as the ideal location, considering all of these three factors: sunlight, water, and electricity.
Constructing the benches. As part of the build, 2 benches were required to hold 11 buckets, considering a spacing of about 1.5 feet between the buckets. Standard 8 feet lumber was chosen, and 2 rectangular frames were constructed with an additional support at the bottom. Feet were connected to the frame. The smallest foot had to be a bit higher than the height of the plastic tote, and the height of the feet gradually increased to create a slope. We start by cutting the pieces of lumber as per the plan. We are using 3.5-inch screws to join the pieces. We now drill a hole in the bucket for the water to exit. We clean the sides to ensure that the grommet fits properly and there is no leakage in the bucket. Insert the grommet properly to ensure a tight fit. Take a 5-inch long piece of the half-inch PVC pipe. Ensure that the sides of the pipe are smooth. We can also use a rough surface such as a stone block to rub it and make it smoother, which helps in inserting the pipe through the grommet. We can also use a lubricant such as Vaseline or oil to help us in this step. An elbow with a net is added on the inner side of the bucket and another elbow is added on the outer side. This completes one bucket. We can use the same steps to complete all the 11 buckets. The next step in the build is to connect the garden pipe with the submersible pump. We use the insert available as part of the submersible pump to connect the garden pipe. This insert is inserted in the 3/4 inch pipe at one end. The other end of the insert can be screwed into the outlet of the submersible pump. The submersible pump is then put inside the tote and we run the garden line behind the buckets and tie it at the other end. The drippers are now installed using the small inserts by making a hole in the garden line and then using the insert connecting the drip line. We measure the drip line of adequate length and drill a small hole in the bucket through which the drip line can be inserted so that it does not fall off or move. The garden pipe is then secured to the back of the frame using cable ties. The 2-inch black drain pipe is now secured in the front end of the bench using clips. The cap is inserted at one end and the pipe drains into the tote at the other end. Holes are made into the pipe so as to connect the output of the bucket into the drain pipe. The timer is now connected to the electric supply and the output from the timers is connected to the air pump, which has a plastic tube running into the tote. The submersible pump is also connected to the timer. Timer is set to run for 15 minutes every 2 hours. The system is ready to test and we've started the pump, and you can see the water coming out from each of these drip lines into the bucket. The bucket has a small reservoir that still retains the water before it overflows out of the drain pipe. We now fill each bucket with Hydroton and wash the Hydroton for the first use. We now drain the tote and refill it with fresh water to start the system again. And now we are ready to plant. Snehal gets a cutting of pineapple which she's been growing indoors to put in the hydroponic system, and here she is trying to dig a small hole to push it in. She does that and then adjusts the water line so that it will water. At this point, Snehal does not know that the pineapple takes about 2 to 3 years to grow, and I don't want to disappoint her at this stage. Snehal also has a few tomato saplings which she's been growing on the ground. Now, can we put them in the hydroponic system? Yes, but first we need to wash it thoroughly so that any contamination from the roots will not get transferred. And here she is washing the plant very nicely. As you can see, it's a small sapling but has good roots, and she will now plant it in the hydroponic system.
bit about how we built all these things. I think it's kind of a labor of love. Over 3 weeks we built it little by little every weekend. I think the first weekend we had to build like the two benches. You can see this is the first part, and then the second part. So we had to basically cut the wood, the lumber into pieces after measurement, and build the two benches. Then those were followed by building, taking the buckets that we have and drilling holes into them. I think the challenge, when we're building the holes, is getting the right size of the drill bit, and then making sure that the holes are all in the right place, measuring the distance between the wood and the bucket, and then making sure that we can follow that through for all of the buckets. Now, once we did that with one bucket, it became easier for the rest of the buckets because it's pretty much the same process. You just kind of do it like a assembly line, pick one bucket after the other and start drilling the holes. And then comes the pipes, drilling the pipes and put the pipes inside, and then followed by the lower part of the pipes, which is also that needs to be part of the bucket as well. The other thing was around the black pipes. You can see here. This is for the irrigation. This is a long pipe. Again, drilling the hole is key. Finding the right spot for the bucket. So we have to place the bucket to the right spot, take the measurement, and then take the drill bit and drill it for every of the buckets. Again, similar to the one before, once we did it, repeating the process is fairly easy. You just have to repeat it for all of the number of buckets that you want. So placement of the buckets, marking of where you want the holes to be, and then having the right equipment, the pipes, the drilling machines, all the drill bits, all that is also key. Once you have that, doing this is a fairly easy process. It just takes one for us to do it, and then just repeat the process with the rest of the buckets as well. So I think it's over 3 weeks. It was pretty fairly good. We did it. First week was a little bit more challenging. Second week was easier, and it comes out to be more easier and easier. The third week, we just had to put a lot of the pebbles and make sure the pipe and the irrigations are all fixed and ready to go. So I think that was it. I mean, it wasn't too hard. A little bit challenging, but it was worth it definitely at the end, as you can see.